The CEO mocked her old notebook, until it revealed a forgotten promise worth $1 million. At exactly 3:18 in the afternoon, beneath the bright golden sunlight pouring through the enormous windows of the 28th floor executive office, everyone heard the sharp sound of an old notebook hitting the polished conference table. The woman standing beside it froze as several executives stared at her. The CEO, a man known for humiliating anyone he considered unprepared, looked at the faded brown cover and laughed. He asked how anyone could possibly take a business proposal seriously when its most important ideas were written in something that looked like it had survived a flood. But what he did not know was that the notebook was not merely old. Hidden between its yellowed pages was a promise made nearly 20 years earlier, a promise connected to his own family and worth exactly $1 million. And when that forgotten promise was finally revealed, the most powerful man in the room would realize that the quiet woman he had just mocked had been carrying a piece of his family's history all along. Before we continue, if you believe kindness matters, that people deserve second chances, and that sometimes the smallest acts can change an entire life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more emotional stories about kindness, courage, and unexpected second chances. Her name was Serafina Vale, though almost everyone at Meridian Crest Industries simply called her Sarah. She was 34 years old, worked as a junior financial analyst, and lived with her elderly grandmother in a modest apartment on the edge of the city. She did not own expensive clothes, did not drive a luxury car, and had never attended one of the prestigious universities where most of the company's executives had studied. But she possessed something nobody in that glass tower knew about. For nearly 20 years, she had kept the same battered notebook given to her by her late father. Its pages were filled with handwritten calculations, business ideas, sketches of machines, notes about renewable energy, and little reminders he had written whenever he came home from work. Her father, Tomas Vale, had once been a maintenance engineer at Meridian Crest. He had died suddenly when Sarah was 14, leaving behind little money but a lifetime of lessons about honesty, patience, and keeping promises. The notebook became Sarah's private treasure. Whenever life became difficult, she opened it and remembered her father's handwriting. One sentence appeared on almost every important page: a person's worth is not measured by what they own, but by what they refuse to abandon. Those words had guided her through school, through poverty, through nights when she studied beneath a weak kitchen lamp because there was no money for proper tuition. Years later, those same words led her to apply for a job at Meridian Crest. She wanted to understand the company where her father had spent so much of his life. More importantly, she wanted to prove that the dreams he had once written down were not impossible. One afternoon, Sarah discovered a serious financial mistake in a major renewable energy project. The mistake could cost the company millions if construction continued. She prepared a detailed report and was unexpectedly invited to present it directly to CEO Cashin Wren, a 46-year-old billionaire whose reputation for perfection made even senior executives nervous. Sarah arrived carrying her old notebook because she had used it to compare the company's current plans with an abandoned project her father had worked on years earlier. She explained that the old design contained a simple solution that could reduce costs dramatically while making the project more efficient. Cashin barely looked at the figures before noticing the notebook. He picked it up, examined its cracked cover, and made a sarcastic remark about bringing schoolwork into a billion-dollar boardroom. Several executives laughed nervously. Sarah felt her face burn, but she remained standing. She calmly explained that the notebook contained her father's original calculations from the company's early renewable energy experiments. Cashin dismissed the idea, saying old notes were not evidence and sentimental memories did not belong in executive decisions. Sarah quietly closed the notebook and prepared to leave. Then the notebook slipped from her hand. It landed open on the table. Cashin suddenly stopped. Across the yellowed page was a signature he recognized immediately. His father's signature. Cashin stared at the handwriting as the room became silent. His father, Gideon Wren, had founded Meridian Crest decades earlier. He had died when Cashin was still young, and Cashin had spent his entire adult life trying to transform his father's struggling company into the empire it had become. Yet there was something about that page he had never seen before. At the bottom was a handwritten agreement dated 20 years earlier. Gideon had promised Tomas Vale that if the renewable energy prototype they had developed together ever became commercially successful, Tomas's family would receive $1 million and a permanent share in the project's future profits. The project had been abandoned after a financial crisis, and everyone had apparently forgotten about it. Everyone except Tomas. And Sarah. Cashin demanded to know why she had never mentioned the agreement. Sarah explained that she had not known whether it was legally valid. Her father had always told her that promises mattered even when nobody was watching, but he had never wanted her to chase money that might not belong to them. She had kept the notebook because it was the last thing she had from him, not because she expected to become rich. Cashin ordered his legal team to investigate. Within days, they discovered something astonishing. The old prototype had not failed. It had simply been shelved because another department had developed a cheaper but less efficient alternative. The original calculations in Sarah's notebook showed that Tomas's design could now be rebuilt using modern technology. Engineers tested the concept, and the results exceeded expectations. The project became the company's biggest breakthrough in years. Cashin could have fought the old agreement. He could have argued that Tomas had never formally registered his claim. Instead, he did something nobody expected. He honored the promise. $1 million was transferred into a trust for Sarah and her grandmother, and Meridian Crest offered Sarah a senior position leading the revived project. But Sarah surprised everyone again. She asked Cashin to use part of the money to establish scholarships for children of the company's lower-paid workers. Cashin asked why she would give away money she had spent her entire life needing. Sarah simply opened the notebook and pointed to her father's sentence. A person's worth is not measured by what they own, but by what they refuse to abandon. For the first time in years, Cashin lowered his eyes. He remembered his father telling him as a child that success was meaningless if it made you forget the people who helped you reach it. Somewhere along the way, Cashin had forgotten those words. He had become so focused on protecting the empire that he had stopped seeing the people standing beneath it. Months later, the renewable energy project launched successfully. Sarah's grandmother attended the ceremony wearing her best blue dress, holding the old notebook against her chest. Cashin stood beside Sarah as hundreds of employees applauded. But the most emotional moment came when Sarah placed the notebook inside a glass display case in the company's main lobby. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "Some promises take years to find their way home." Sarah never forgot the afternoon Cashin had mocked that notebook. She also never forgot what happened afterward. The notebook had not made her valuable. It had simply revealed the value she had carried all along. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes that kindness and honesty still matter, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so these stories can continue reaching people who need a little hope. And before the story ends, comment, "Promises matter," if you believe a promise should still be honored, even when the person who made it is no longer there to remind us. That evening, as sunlight faded across the city and the office windows turned gold, Cashin passed the glass case one last time. He stopped, looked at the old notebook, and smiled quietly. It had once been the object he mocked because he thought it represented poverty and the past. Now it represented something far more valuable: integrity, sacrifice, and a promise that survived 20 years of silence. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes the things we dismiss because they look old, ordinary, or worthless are carrying the very truth we have spent our entire lives searching for.